everyone. We request you to switch off your mobiles or make it silent. Honorable Governor Chancellor is on the mic off.
Next cycle. விட்டு விட்டு வருதுங்க சார்.
மார்னிங் இப்படி Please maintain silence for a while. We request everyone to stand up. Ladies and gentlemen, we are here to heighten the enormity of G20 Summit of the year 2023. To open this valedictory, we extend a heartwarming welcome to this august gathering. Now, we request all to stand for national anthem followed by Tamil Thai Valtu.
Aditi Devo Bhava, a code of Indian culture and tradition is to welcome the Honorable Chancellor. It is our due respect and pride to invite our Honorable Vice Chancellor to deliver the welcome address.
சுழன்றும் ஏற்பின்னது உலகம் அதனால் உழந்தும் உளவேத்தலை. His Excellency Governor of Tamil Nadu and Chancellor of Periyar University, respected speakers in today's seminar who have delivered their lectures in the morning session, and respected speakers who are going to deliver their lectures in this session, respected Registrar, Director IQAC, G20 Nodal Officer, my dear faculty members, dear students, dear media personnel, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon to everyone. Periyar University started its G20 presidency related activities based on the guidelines issued by UGC. We have nominated Dr. K. Jayaraman, head of the Department of Economics, as nodal officer, and he took initiatives to conduct various programs related to G20 activities as enshrined in the guidelines of UGC. Nearly 30 programs were conducted based on the schedule of activities at Periyar University, and brief report was already submitted to the Chancellor. Now this seminar is being conducted to highlight the G20 New Delhi Leaders Declaration during 9th to 10th September 2023, encompassing 1 year, 1 family, 1 future. The declaration is available in web, which is a 35 pages PDF document, and being deliberated here in this one-day seminar. There are 10 major declarations, and 6 of which had sub-declarations totaling 36, and today we are making perspective analysis of 14 of them. During morning session we did 11, and this session 3 being discussed. Most of the topics selected has relevance to the university research activities. The speakers were also requested to address those researchable issues based on the leaders' declaration. For everyone's information, all these declarations by the G20 leaders were prepared by the contribution from all G20 countries. There are subcommittees for each of the theme comprising experts from the respective fields and from different countries. There were deliberations at least 3 times during the presidency scheduled in various places in India and was summarized and was prepared as the G20 New Delhi Leaders Declaration. Even one of our students has participated in such deliberations. All are requested to read the official document to have an insight of Leaders Declaration, and please do not read in between lines and attribute a different meaning to it as some of our friends always do on everything the university does. I am highly thankful to the Honorable Governor for guiding us in conducting this seminar and for the personal participation in the valedictory function. Already 3 seminars have been completed at Alagappa University and Manonimanayam Sundarana University, and the 3rd is at Anna University, and 4th is conducted at Periyar University. I am also thankful to all the speakers of the seminar for spending their valuable time with us and perspective analysis on each of the topic assigned to them. I hope our students who have participated in large number will have some takeaway from the deliberations and also from Honorable Governor's presidential address. On this occasion, I like to thank all my media friends since their coverage about the Periyar University really helped to improve our university's perception, as can be seen from our NIRF rankings. When we submitted our reports in 2021, we secured 73rd rank out of 1,657 applicants. During 2022, it became 63 out of 1876 applications. And currently in 2023, we stood at 59th rank out of 2,478 applicants. All these improvements were possible because of the news items appeared in different newspapers, which ultimately improved our scoring, mainly because of in the level of perception about the university. I am really thankful to the media friends for such exposure about the Periyar University. Periyar University is the only state-run university in Tamil Nadu, secured 4-star ratings for its performance in the Institute's Innovation Council, and that too consecutively for the last 2 years, and results of this announced only on 16/11/23. In this occasion, I wholeheartedly thank all my faculty friends for bringing such a fame to the university. Once again, I welcome all of you to this G20 valedictory function to be scheduled now, and I thank everyone who helped the university to organize the G20 seminar. Thanks one and all.
Thank you. Memories we request our Vice Chancellor to honor Her Excellency.
Thank you. Moving forward, one earth, one family, one future is the motto that we have been engaged with a series of lectures on G20 New Delhi Leaders Declaration from this morning. To continue with, we now have eminent delegates amidst us. We would like to invite Dr. K.R. Ashoka, the former Director, Center for Agriculture and Rural Development Studies, Tamil Nadu Agriculture University, Coimbatore, to deliver his talk on macroeconomic impacts of food and energy insecurity.
His Excellency and Honorable Governor of Tamil Nadu and Chancellor of Periyar University, Honorable Vice Chancellor of the Periyar University, other dignitaries on and off the dais, respected Senate and Syndicate members, deans and learned faculty of this university, dear students and research scholars, press and media, ladies and gentlemen, A very good afternoon to all. This G20 summit held this year is widely hailed as a people's presidency because people from all walks of life were involved or participated in the making of policies in this summit. We understand that there are hundreds of meetings were held across the country, from north to south, from east to west, and Periyar University is one among them. And in the morning, Vice Chancellor was saying that 30 such meetings were conducted in this university. I deem it an honor and privilege to be part of this seminar and immensely grateful to His Excellency, the Honorable Chancellor and Honorable Vice Chancellor for this great opportunity. So moving to this topic per se, my presentation is organized in 6 headings, each have two or three slides only. The context of this topic, trends in food and energy markets, consequences of rising food and energy prices, managing the food and energy insecurity among the G20 members, and key takeaways on policy actions and summary. So contextualization of the topic, we all know that Group 20 comprises of 19 countries plus European Union, and we understand this year African Union also has become a member. So G20 represents about 2/3 of the world population and 85% of the global GDP and over 75% of the global trade. That is to say that this is a very considerable bloc, both economically and politically, a bigger bloc. So it's coming of age, like the Bretton Woods institutions like IMF, World Bank and other things. So its importance has become more relevant than ever before. So it is a premier multilateral platform established initially for international economic cooperation, but now it plays a key role in shaping and strengthening global architecture and governance. So this global architecture and governance very, very important because it simply means the process and procedures, how we conduct ourselves in politically, economically, socially, and so on. So the spirit of this summit was succinctly remarked in the B20 summit by our Prime Minister. A connected world is about a shared purpose, shared planet, shared prosperity, and shared future. So the context of the topic, as our Vice Chancellor was telling, it has got 10 subdivisions. G20 Leaders Declaration has got 10 sub-themes. In that, the second theme is about sustainable, accelerating progress on sustainable development goals. In this second theme, there is one sub-theme called food and energy insecurity. Actually, this food and energy security addresses 2 important SDG goals. These are the no hunger and clean energy. So by addressing these 2 important areas, through G20 we are also addressing the global development goals. Then coming to the trends in food and energy markets, this is the food and fertilizer prices from January 21 to January 23. We can see here the prices of wheat, corn, rice and one input, urea, which has spiked till January 22 after this Ukraine war, February 24 invasion. After that it has moderated, it has declined. But it is still above the January 21 levels. The prices of wheat, corn, rice and urea is still at a higher level. Then similarly after February 23 also, when India banned the rice exports, the prices in the international market has risen. So the dotted line indicates the time when we imposed the export ban. So international price in countries like Vietnam, Thai have risen. So that is to say that we are a country of such a big scale which is capable of influencing the international prices. Then impact of high international food prices. So here 1% shock in international food price will result in 0.3% increase in domestic food prices. So approximately a year later. So that is very prominent, particularly in lower income countries. So whenever there is a shock, the international food prices, it has got implication for domestic market. Then similarly the energy prices. So here also oil and gas prices is depicted in this graph, and we are more concerned with oil, which is shown in this green graph. So international oil prices nearly doubled between January 20 and March 22 due to supply shocks, pandemic and Ukraine war like kind of things. So global energy price also have moderated from last year. That is that you can see from May 22 onwards, it is started declining, but still higher than the initial levels. So there is interconnectedness between food and energy prices. So that means whenever there is a increase in energy prices, that is spilled over to food markets. A high energy price translates into increased food production costs. So some analysis by the World Bank and IMF using some rigorous econometric analysis shows 10% increase in fertilizer price or 10% increase in global oil price results in 2% increase in global cereal prices after 3 quarters. So another important pass-through is via transportation and distribution costs. So high energy price also have some impact on food prices and food markets. Then consequences. So we have seen how the food and energy prices are increasing in the last year, and it is still continuing. So what could be its consequences? So first and foremost is, so the impact of high food and energy prices is on inflation, because there was rise in inflation across most of the G20 economies in 2022, mainly due to high price of food and energy, and also significant share of food and energy in their consumption basket. So most of the lesser developed countries, individuals have higher share of their income for food and energy. Then consequences of this high food and energy prices, first of all, food insecurity. The number of people facing acute food insecurity doubled between 2016 and 22. So high food prices impacted the net food importing countries the most. So G20 has several types of countries. Some are producing, some are importing, consuming countries. So its impact is most on the net importing countries. So given that poor people spend larger share of their income on food, high food prices affect more vulnerable segments. Then second important consequence is undernourishment. So in this graph, the right extreme, you can see the recent years, the graph is picking up. The number of undernourished people increased by more than 150 million between 2019 and 21 globally because of COVID and other pandemic and other issues. Then contraction of standard of living. So inflation will definitely strain the household budgets. So for the benefit of other students from science background, I wish to say inflation simply means sustained increase in prices of articles. So when there is increase in prices of food and energy, which is the maximum share in their consumption basket, it will definitely strain the household budgets. So this resulted in contraction of real living standards. So when you have most of your money on food and other energy, then other things like education, maybe health and other issues, you have less to spend, and this resulting in contraction of the living standards. So then the very important thing is all of this result in contraction in economic growth. High energy prices reduced global growth by 0.5% in 2022. These are all estimates by World Bank and IMF through some rigorous, robust econometric methods. The same shocks should reduce global growth by 0.3% in 2023 if prices remain high throughout 2022 and into 2023. This is from some reports. So food insecurity and poverty worsens labor productivity. So this is very, very important point. So when you have undernourishment and other things, it also impacts labor productivity, which adversely affect economic growth. Then indirect impacts of food and energy insecurity is persistent food and energy insecurity may fuel unrest in societies, which is an indirect risk for economic growth. IMF estimates the post-social unrest, GDP drops 1%. If there is some unrest and then the GDP, post this social issues, GDP lost by 1%. High inflation leads to hiking of interest rates and higher borrowing costs and adverse impact on growth. Food insecurity can be detrimental to growth in longer term, with malnourishment weighing human capital development and productivity. Then this section actually deals with how the G20 members dealt with these high food prices and energy prices. Actually, our presidency, they have sent this questionnaires to all the G20 member countries, and their response is tabulated in this section. And impact of food and energy insecurity, G20 experiences most significant macroeconomic impact of high food and energy prices are inflation. So you can say first is inflation, balance of payment, impact on public finance, economic growth and consumption. So inflation is one of the important area, like balance of payment problem, also one of the important area when there is high food prices and energy prices. Then monetary policy responses. So what kind of policy response were taken by our G20 members? To control inflation, a tighter monetary policy has been followed in most economies. Monetary policy responses largely consist of rising short-term rates, so policy rate hike. Very often you can see in newspapers, Reserve Bank hiked the CLR so much points, etc. So that is what we mean by policy rate hike. Then open market operations by selling bonds and other things. Then asset purchase reversal. So these are all some of the measures to deal with food and high food and energy prices in the monetary sphere. Then fiscal policy responses. Fiscal policy responses are different for energy price hike, and it also different for food prices. For energy price hike, they resort to fiscal policy. That is basically monetary policy is related to Reserve Bank of India actions and operations. Fiscal policy related to the governments taxation and other issues. So energy prices, the fiscal policy measures include subsidies, tariff, maneuvering with the tariffs, cash transfers, social security and welfare programs, vouchers and disclosures, price regulation and others. These are all the fiscal policy measures to control energy prices. Coming to food prices, we resort to subsidies, cash transfers, tariffs, vouchers and discounts, social welfare and others. So elevated food and energy prices drive inflation and limit fiscal spaces. So when there is inflation, because these are all not a zero-sum game where monetary policy and fiscal policy, when you have too much of interest rate hikes and other things, it actually limits the scope for monetary policy, fiscal policy actions. Most G20 countries resorted to targeted fiscal measures like subsidies, tax reliefs, cash transfers, etc. to offset the impact of high food and energy prices. So the difficulty of balancing fiscal assistance to vulnerable population and maintaining medium-term fiscal sustainability was highlighted by many members. So there is a trade-off between these two which has to be very carefully dealt. Then coming to other measures to deal with the food and energy prices, structural measures. Structural measures for energy include infrastructure. So infrastructure here actually in G20, lot of discussions going on energy transition from coal-based energy to renewable energy. So that is basically related to infrastructure. Then market reforms, deregulation, innovation is very, very important for this, one of the very important structural measures. Coming to structural reforms to food insecurity, again innovation in agricultural technology, then infrastructure, and also market reforms and deregulation. These are all some of the structural measures. So in economics we used to say a permanent way of addressing these issues is structural changes or structural reforms. G20 as a major bloc, economic bloc, they could definitely contribute in this direction. Then external sector policies, basically trade. Trade measures dominated efforts on the external front to combat food and energy shocks. So most of the countries, emerging economies, they resorted to these trade measures, and also exchange rate manipulation for addressing these higher prices in food and energy markets. Then key takeaways on policy actions from the G20 experience include synchronized monetary policy, coordinated action among the G20 countries. Tightening across G20 economies has helped cool demand and inflationary pressures. In the last 2 years, in the earlier graph, we have seen it is coming down. That is because the synchronized action by the various G20 countries. Then gradual tightening of fiscal policy by replacing broad-based measures with targeted measures. So we have to give these targeted measures to those who are vulnerable and really needy, to protect the vulnerable section and reduce the pressure on monetary policy. Then diversifying food and energy sources and addressing structural issues are critical to build resilience against future crises. Then replenishment of International Fund for Agriculture Development. It is a UN organization, around 177 member countries are there. They actually, wherever there is food insecurity, higher prices of food, they specifically intervene in those countries to protect the vulnerable section. But they are in need of funds. So the G20 countries also have developed countries. They can replenish the funds of IFAD. Then G20 reaffirmed the importance of rule-based, non-discriminatory, fair, open, inclusive, sustainable and transparent multilateral trading system. So just whatever I have discussed so far, I will conclude in this one slide. So macroeconomic impact of food and energy security. So international food price leads to spillover to domestic food prices. Similarly, international energy price leads to domestic energy prices. Domestic energy price have an impact on domestic food prices. So these both the domestic food prices and energy price lead to high inflation, which actually impact food insecurity, undernourishment, standard of living, global growth, and also several indirect impacts. Then how to manage this high food and energy security. So we have monetary policy interventions, fiscal policy interventions, structural interventions, and international trade interventions. So what G20 actions for mitigating food and energy security? So synchronized monetary policy actions, multilateral trading system, and replenishment of IFAD resources. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Moving forward, we invite Registrar, Periyar University, to speak on harnessing artificial intelligence responsibility for good and for all.
The most respected Honorable Chancellor, Governor, Chancellor Periyar University, the most respected and Honorable Vice Chancellor of Periyar University, dignitaries on the dais and off the dais. Good evening to one and all present here. I am very happy to present on harnessing artificial intelligence, responsibility for good and for all. Before going into the artificial intelligence, let me take human intelligence. The human intelligence is mental quality. All of us knows that, and this consists of the abilities to learn from experience. That is most important for artificial intelligence. So the ability to learn from experience, where data are playing vital role in artificial intelligence, and add to new situations, and also it may be understand and handle abstract concepts and use knowledge to control an environment. So these are the some of the important things under comes under mental quality for human intelligence. But whereas if you go into the artificial intelligence, it refers to a technique that enables machines to mimic the human behavior. To mimic the human behavior, we must give lot of data, and this responsible AI is the practice of building and deploying AI, practice of building or designing the system. That is most important, and also deployment is also most important. Deploying AI solutions with uncompromising commitment to user trust and safety. So AI can improve on past iterations and become smarter and more aware, allowing it to improve its capabilities and knowledge. Knowledge is nothing but here set of patterns, extracting the patterns from the data that constitute the knowledge for computer. So with artificial intelligence, machines perform cognitive functions like learning, planning, reasoning, decision making, and problem solving. And here what is the responsible artificial intelligence? Means it should create an unparalleled opportunity for business and organizations, allowing them to process and make decisions based on massive amount of data with an eye on improving outcomes in the process. The various stages of adoption of responsible artificial intelligence are mainly the concept. So there are 4 stages. Number 1 is concept, guideline, process, and culture. So here the ability of machines to perform task responsibility in an intelligence fashion without supervision is known as concept. For example, one can define the system, its objectives and problems. If you go into the guideline, where aligning the artificial intelligence systems to make them easy to understand and user friendly. Whenever we develop the system must be more user friendly and must be adaptive in nature, and while maintaining the privacy and trust. For example, a well-defined rules and conditions for designing the AI system is most important. Under this process, establishing principles and provides more meaningful and accurate operations within the limits for which the AI systems were designed. So finally, a well-defined or deployed AI system that should be reliable and make to feel good for all. That is most important. Then what are all the requirements of responsible AI? So any reliable artificial intelligence system that constructs upon the huge volume and carefully configured well selected data among all available. So before this, the AI system has been built in requires huge volume of data, as I said earlier, that may be any kind of data, maybe text, numerical, image, audio, video, or sensor data, or network data, whatever it may be. it is increase in quantum of data generated at individual level. And by day to day life, billions of data, or we can say information that may be generated by individual level or industry level using various platforms such as social networks, documents, new data generation, etc. Apart from this, data generated, system itself may be generated billions of information by its own, where we can see that the lot of giants like Microsoft, Netflix, Meta, YouTube, etc. The three important V's of responsible artificial intelligence are velocity, variety, and value. So because it ensures not only the quality of data but achieve the basic requirements of reliable artificial intelligence elements in terms of volume, velocity, variety, and value. So because every day we all know that we have been using WhatsApp, and through the WhatsApp and also video, audio, and streaming videos, and also the reels, etc. It is generating huge amount of data with high velocity, and also variety of data we are able to get, like images, voice, then text, and videos, etc. For example, it may generate the volume may be lot of generation and consumption. Once we collect the data, and it has to be cleaned, and it has to be converted into the useful format, then it can be converted into the visualization form, and after converting into that, it can be processed. And the ultimate aim of the data is to convert the money. So it indicates in dollar. So finally, whatever the amount we have, it can be converted into the amount of data. That's why in data mining there is a saying, we are very rich in data but very poor in knowledge. And potential areas of responsible artificial intelligence, almost all domains are utilizing the power of artificial intelligence system, which includes society, environment, technology, and economics. Whereas 33% of automation of IT process, already they have implemented artificial intelligence system. 29% of security and threat detection they have implemented, and in marketing and sales they have implemented around 26%. Financial planning and analysis they have implemented artificial intelligence around 22%. In the case of automation of business process, so because when we are having or repeating the things, it has to be automated. So 28% of automation process, they are utilizing artificial intelligence. And as far as business analytics, or we can say business intelligence, where 26% of automation have been done. In fraud detection, 23% have been used. And also, if you come to the artificial intelligence governance, leading players, already I said the tech giants like Apple, Bosch, Cisco, IBM, Oracle, etc. They have been using for various things like accountability, transparency, privacy, bias, and safety, where this map indicates almost all the leading countries in the globe, they are using or already they have implemented a certain amount of tasks by using artificial intelligence, where we can see that $500 billion of the globe, and as far as Indian market level, the prediction is in the year 2025 maybe $7.8 billion. The rising efforts of tech giants towards improving the access to the artificial intelligence is expected to foster the growth of the global artificial intelligence market during the forecast period. And we can note that China is in the first place. They have implemented, already deployed artificial intelligence about 58%, and the next one is India, where we have deployed 57%, and the third one is Singapore. And if you come to the growth of artificial intelligence adoption, North America generated more than 36.84% of the market share in 2022, whereas the Asian Pacific market is expected to expand the highest compound annual growth rate of 20.3% from the 2023 to 2032. Based on the technology, the deep learning segment has captured 36.36% market share in 2022, where the deep learning is nothing but the extension of artificial neural network. Artificial neural network will mimic the human brain, where in our human brain approximately 10 to the power 11 neurons at the time of by virtue of birth, but every day number of neurons may be generated and number of neurons may be destroyed, and those neurons were in artificial neural network, we can call it as an computing element, and where each neuron is is used for computing. It may receive the information either from the surroundings or from the neighboring neurons, and then as in our human being some chemical reaction may take place, whereas here just it may compute the arithmetic sum of arithmetic with the help of the weight. Weight is nothing but it is playing the vital role, the connection between two neurons. So where this deep learning has been implemented with a lot of hidden layers, that is the most important concept behind this deep learning. And also this, by end of user, this 16.82% of the market share in 2022. Based on this technology, deep learning segment accounted largest market share in 2022. And if you come to end user insights in artificial intelligence market, in 2020, the government of India increased the spend for Digital India to $47 million to boost artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, big data analytics, cyber security, machine learning, augmented reality, virtual reality, and immersive technology with robotics. The heavy investments by the tech giants in research and development are continuously fueling technological advancements and in various industries, where once if we collect the data, as I said earlier, there may be sometimes we may get the redundancy of data, so the redundancy must be avoided, and then we must select the best data, or the biased data must be eliminated. Once if you eliminate the data, then we can come for processing, and based on the things, the important patterns may be generated with the help of deep learning or some kind of machine learning techniques. And then technological innovations have been always an important part of the majority of industries, and the top global tech giants such as Amazon, Apple, Google, Microsoft, IBM are increasing their investments in the upgradation and development of various applications of artificial intelligence. And next, coming to the best practice of responsible artificial intelligence, where best practice of artificial intelligence includes 4 fundamental processes, which includes avoid discriminatory data generation, avoid biased artificial intelligence design, then build the artificial intelligence system that adopt almost all kind of people, deliver or reach out the artificial intelligence system for all the people. Now all the 4 purposes should be ensures reflect the facts of technical, social, real world senses. And to become successful in any kind of business, we need to accurate collection of data and easy processing, adequate analytics, which further forms the backbone of decision making and is required for vital insights. A population of data bias occurs when survey the wrong people or gather data from the wrong audience. So attempting use data created for one context in another context without retraining the system is likely lead to poor outcomes. So that means if we collect the data from Tamil Nadu, those data cannot be used for other states for certain kinds of, for example, if you want to predict if you want to predict the lifestyle, or if you want to analyze the food habits, which may not be suitable. And the role of data provenance is playing vital roles because it ensures the reliability and quality of data and is called data provenance. And data chasm is most important because sometimes when we may use different types of devices to capture the data. Once if you capture the data from one device, those data cannot be processed, or once again if you if you collect the data by using another device which may not be compatible. So which is also it should be considered while we are collecting the data. Then there are some use cases. Here we can see that the first one, all parameters are well recognized by the artificial intelligence system. So that is agent, food, heat, tool, place, mode, task, etc. These all parameters are well recognized by the developed artificial intelligence system. So this gives the 100% accuracy. Whereas for the second case, the role okay, but for heat it is not correct because there are some red spots are there. The system identifies wrongly those as heat. So the accuracy is 85.7%. If you come to the third one, where we can see there are two males, but it may identify as a one male, and also some tools are wrongly identified. And if you come to the fourth one, and a lot of parameters are misunderstood. So the percentage is 42.5%. The certain key benefits of artificial intelligence, where we know it can reduce the human error, automates repetitive tasks, as I said, then AI-enabled digital assistants, etc. These are the challenges and conclusion. Just I would like to say one challenge which everyone knows. You may not know the taste of cyanide. Suppose if you want to know the taste of cyanide, how it could be identified? The solution by using AI, so one can construct the artificial tank, so that will be a solution for identifying the taste of cyanide.
Clustering is nothing but grouping of similar kind of items. You heard the original version of me. Now this is my AI version. இதை உருவாக்க AI குளோனிங் தொழில்நுட்பத்தை பயன்படுத்தினேன். இதை உங்களுடன் பகிர்ந்து கொள்வதில் மகிழ்ச்சி அடைகிறேன். எனது அவதாரத்தை பல மொழிகளில் பேச வைக்க முடியும். Teper Yagovoru Poruski. Sekarang saya berbicara di Indonesia. Ora parlo in italiano, aku sanguis asgaelige. The foreign languages I just spoke in are transcribed through AI cloning technology. AI 테크놀로지의 가능성은 굉장히 오키. AI 기술에 대해서는 아직 탐구해야 할 부분이 많습니다. 원고세쇼 님께쇼 제거. 계시에. Thank you. Danke. Bedank. Daku. Gracias. Nandri.
Thank you for giving the opportunity.
Thank you. We would now like to invite Dr. R. Rengalakshmi, the Director of Agro Technology, MS Swaminathan Research Foundation, Chennai, to deliver her experience on driving gender inclusive climate action.
Honorable His Excellency Governor of Tamil Nadu, Chancellor of Periyar University, and respected Vice Chancellor of Periyar University and other dignitaries on the dais, and faculties, students, media and other respected guests. I am honored to deliver the talk Driving Gender Inclusive Climate Actions as part of the G20 declarations which emerged during the very detailed discussion among the G20 member countries. So here the main aspects which included the gender equality and empowerment as part of a detailed declaration points. This appeared as a kind of an important cross-cutting element across all other sections which emanated during the discussions. So here the point which we are focusing here is on how we deliver the climate actions. So there are three major points were emerged in the sub-theme. One is driving gender inclusive climate action, that is 66, acknowledging the disproportionate impact of climate change, biodiversity loss, desertification and pollution on women and girls. So these sectoral elements, how it is impacting women and girls and accelerating climate action. That is, the climate change is keeping more challenges and how it is affecting or compounding the risk which women and girls are facing in their actions. Second one is support and increase how women's participation, their partnership, decision making and leadership in climate change mitigation and adaptation, disaster risk reduction strategies, policy frameworks on environmental issues. There are n number of policies related to environmental issues are coming up, and the forthcoming one is the COP28, where the detailed action plan on climate change is going to be discussed. So in relation to that, the third point which is mentioned under this sub-theme is support gender responsive and environment resilient solutions. So both are combined, including water, sanitation and hygiene, that is part of the WASH solutions to build resilience for the impact of climate change and environmental degradation. So it is a kind of a very comprehensive statement which is affecting women and children in the context of climate change. So here the India's response as part of the G20 declaration immediately after the meeting. One is the role of women and girls as a change makers in climate resilience. Climate resilience actions has been highlighted by Ministry of Women and Child Development. This is one part. And second, as part of the new working group among the ministerial representatives for empowering women, they developed a kind of a committee to foster gender equality and inclusivity. So these two important elements which came out immediately after the meeting. But here to reinstate further, India's collective and unwavering dedication to championing gender equality and empowering all women and girls has now secured a firm place within G20 New Delhi Leadership Declaration in 2023. And here two major elements they have highlighted. One is empowerment, that is women empowerment. Second one is women-led development. So these two things gain traction out of the important discussions. And here the collective decision taken by the Government of India is to be commit to close gender gaps, promote full equity, effective women's participation in the economy as decision makers. So this is a very powerful statement which came out of the discussion, and India is committed to promote the gender equality in all spheres. Before we get into the detailed part, some of the facts related to gender equality help us to understand the context better. The UN Women study predicted, going by the current trends of the progress, by 2030, nearly 8% of the world female population will be living in poverty, extreme poverty, and close to a quarter will experience moderate to severe food insecurity. So this is a very pathetic condition, and how different countries are taking effort to overcome this particular element. And the second one is highlighting the deeply entrenched gender gap in leadership positions. Leadership positions at different levels, starting from the rural women to till the top UN organizations or the highly developed countries, including all G20 countries. The uneven distribution of unpaid care and domestic work between men and women, that is also another important element one need to analyze. And the next important component, as Dr. Ashoka mentioned, food insecurity due to several compounding reasons, including the climate risk. Then the final point is again poverty. Here 16 million more women and girls when compared to the total number of men and boys pushed to poverty by mid-century due to climate change. So this shows the importance and intensity of the problem which is posing on the part of the community, that is men, women as well as the children. And how it is disproportionately impacting the life and livelihood of women and children. One is the responsibility, women's responsibility. It is a complex relationship with a close network as well as dependency on the natural environment, and also the household responsibilities that are highly climate sensitive, especially fetching water or fetching firewood, ensuring fodder as well as household food security. So as part of the women's expected roles and responsibility, they play a major role in shaping the environmental issues and also meeting the climate risk. Second important, another point is the gender division of labor. Here within the households as well as at the community level, women spend more time in involving drudgery based work compared to men. And the statistics shows compared to men, women spend more than 30% of the time in the household work. This is compounded by fewer employment opportunities, poor occupational mobility as well as the low wage. So these are all the factors which are contributing the gender gap in many dimensions. And the third element is the higher dependence on natural resources, as I said, for their livelihoods, and the limited participation in household as well as the public decision making, and inadequate access to land, which is very essential resource for leading the better livelihoods. The final element is women's burden on unpaid domestic work and care work, especially the elders, livestock as well as children, caring for these sectors deepen the inequalities in the labor market participation as well as the outcomes. Coming to the detailed part of the rural women as a key agents of transformation of economic, environmental and social change, which are part of the sustainable development which the G20 confirms, or it is facilitating among the countries. The one fact which everyone has to accept, without women there is no agriculture. So that is the fact, and nowadays the men's participation in agriculture is coming down, moving to non-farm sectors. So in this context, if we see 70% of the farming activities are done by women in terms of the percentage per unit of the land as well as the livestock care, it is little more. Yet women are not recognized as farmers and wages are almost deeply with a high variation. And 75% of the rural women workers are engaged in agriculture. That is, most of them are landless agriculture laborers, and also the operational holding among women is close to 13 to 14%. That is the recent data. Then the land ownership, that is play a key instrument for reducing socioeconomic and gender inequalities at the rural as well as the urban region. Here the disaggregated data availability and the ownership of the asset play a major role in designing the policies as well as other interventions necessary to break the differences. When we come to food systems, in the food systems, as I said earlier, women play a major role and they are part of the marginalized ecosystems, and this is the major livelihood for them. Compared to men, 71% of the women depend on food systems for their primary livelihood, 47% among men. Men are increasingly moving out of non-farm sector, as I informed earlier, and this bring women as a kind of a major manager of the farm rather than contributing as a kind of a labor. So from this perspective, is there any change in the access to productive resources, especially the land or livestock or knowledge, technology, credit, market systems, there are n number of productive resources is going in the name of men. So access for such kind of resources which is very essential to improve the productivity or to ensure the better livelihood, women couldn't access it. Although there are policies that enable women's empowerment process in agriculture, the existing inequities, especially the social norms, which is affecting women to effectively gain the success from such kind of initiatives. And the FAO 23 reported the gender gap in land productivity, that is between men and women managed farms of the same size, is 24%. So this shows how the difference between the men and women, the gap exists in the agriculture systems. On average, women earn 18.4% less than men in wage employment in agriculture, and this means that women receive 82 cents for every dollar earned by men. So this is another wage gap. The disparity is very high among the communities with whom we are interacting. So coming to the policy space, there are it's a continuum starting with the gender blind policies. In the past, there were many policies were gender blind, but over a period of time, there are changes and moving to gender neutral, where the interventions are existing distribution of resources. It is considering as a kind of a neutral position, but coming to gender specific, where practically some solutions are given to target women as a kind of a vulnerable element so that they could able to participate in that activities. Then coming to the gender sensitiveness, even last 2 decades we could able to see some of the policies which are very highly gender sensitive, identifying the factors and processes which are responsible for the gender inequality and try to address those elements. And the final one, which is very essential and all G20 countries aim to follow in future, that is the gender redistributive or transformative policies, wherein women are equally considered as a kind of a citizen and they get the due share in almost all policy planning as well as the related budgets. So coming to the strategies which is working very well in the Indian or South Asian context or among the G20, there are 6 or 7 major points which are very essential, which is defining the transformative process. One is the skill and knowledge. So how do we ensure the women and girls are getting high quality knowledge as well as the skill which are necessary to improve their economic opportunities and livelihoods. Here there are opportunities, strategies like technical training and access to information and knowledge that we need to redefine according to the context of the women and men as well as for the children, that is female as well as male children. Here the women's technical skill on climate smart technologies, one example, and how entrepreneurship and negotiating skills can be facilitated to act on their own. And here the gender transformative means promoting women as role models to break the barriers. There are n number of cases have come up in this sphere to overcome such strategies working well in the context. And the second important area is access to and control over resources and services. Here we need to see how it can be facilitated. Right now, if we analyze our own context in Tamil Nadu, there are gaps how this access and resources are getting to men and women farmers. Coming to the workloads, again, every one of us very clear that introducing farm machinery and collective labor pattern, how do we ensure? There are machineries coming in, their access and availability is increasing, but how far it is women friendly, how they could able to access very quickly. So these are all challenges associated with the workloads when we bring women as a kind of a productive labor in the context of agriculture production or any other rural development initiatives. These are all some strategies which is working well, that is providing a farmer-centric advisories. Right now the system available for either for agriculture farmers or any other entrepreneurs involved in initiatives, they are not getting individual-centric advisories. That is affecting their production and limiting their capacity to move to the next level. When it comes to the fourth point is the voice and representation, and here how women and girls gain voice and representation both in the household, community as well as the societal level. And in the farming context, there is a better opportunities are now emerging as a kind of a farmer collectives, either self-help group federation or in the recent term it is a farmer producer organizations. So such kind of opportunities help people to come up, use the collective power to overcome some of the gender inequalities. The fifth one is the access to market and employment opportunities, and here also there are n number of strategies one can define to overcome the challenges which women and girls are facing. The sixth important one is the decision making in the household as well as access to productive resources. The decision making is a process, but it is a key one which is essential for household starting and it moving to the next level of community and the societal level. When it comes to the process, the impact of gender equality from the inequality to equality, it is a process. It's starting with equity first. Equity means it is a justice. So women are on the lower position, so you are giving good strategies or adequate number of strategies to bring her up to the next level so that they will be on par to negotiate or on par to compete. The next important element is women's empowerment, where you can see visible changes. Broaden and deepen social inclusion happens in this space. Coming to the third level of gender transformative, where the changes are sustained to break the social norms or to overcome some of the deeper challenges the society face. So concluding remarks, basically bring change in the women's participation is a sequential process. We are in the one stage, still we need to put more efforts to reach the next level. Then the conducting gender analysis, understanding their access as well as the decision making capacity in the project cycle management or any other interventions which we are bringing as a part of the management. Then the multiple strategies are necessary to make transformative and sustained changes. One strategy may not work, we need to target again and again and with multiple strategies. Then the collective action, because they are voiceless and their negotiation capacity is very less at this point of time. So how collective power can be harnessed, and that needs some kind of a social innovation at the local level and it needs to be continuously facilitated. Then expanding the knowledge access and the skill empowerment. Right now there are many technologies are available to build such kind of knowledge as well as the skill. Then access to data and design policies. Right now the available data sets which are not gender segregated, so that limits our planning in many aspects. But now increasingly the recent collection systems are segregated. It will help us to understand the problems much more clearer so that actions as well as the plans will be made accordingly. Then the policy implementation and nudging support. The one example I should quote here is the Pradhan Mantri PMUY scheme. So in that connections for LPG collections given to almost all households, 99.8%, but when you study the user rate, it is very, very less. It is 47% in the rural, and in the urban it is very little higher. So this shows what are all the gaps which are still there and what support is needed for such households to continuously engage or continuously use such facilities. This is just one example, but there are n number of policies like that which is available, but while in practice it needs more support and hand holding. So with that I conclude. Thank you very much for this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. To conclude, now we invite IQAC Director, Periyar University, Dr. Yohanandan, to highlight the deliberations of G20.
His Excellency, the Governor Chancellor, Honorable Vice Chancellor, distinguished dignitaries on the dais and off the dais, and dear participants, good evening. I feel honored and delighted to share with you the key deliberations of today's seminar, which focused on the vital themes outlined in the G20 New Delhi Leaders' Declaration. Today, we engaged in robust discussions on the 14 important sub-themes. Speakers consisting of faculty members from Periyar University, students from Periyar University, academicians from other institutions, and a practicing doctor made presentations. The experts deliberated on the role of educational institutions in shaping individuals for societal transformation. Need for change through disruptive innovation was emphasized. The need for collaborative strategies to address emerging health challenges was discussed. Vasudhaiva Kudumbakam was suggested as a strategy, a model for peaceful coexistence, inclusive growth, and sustainable development. The deliberations also included economic consequences of climate change and advocating proactive measures to foster sustainable economic growth. Speakers cautioned about natural disasters and suggested ways and means of managing the risks that arise from natural calamities. The role of sustainable infrastructure in mitigating the impact of natural disasters was also stressed upon. Yet another focus area of discussion was circular economy. There was a greater emphasis on breaking away from linear economic models and adopting circular systems that prioritize resource efficiency and waste reduction. It was pointed out that the man-made action impacted negatively on environment. The deliberations also touched upon the detrimental impacts of plastic on ecosystem and proposed strategies for curbing its pervasive presence. Interestingly, we came to know that 5 grams of plastic is consumed by us every week. Addressing the evolving landscape of financial technologies, emphasis was placed on the critical need for robust policies and regulations to govern crypto assets. Speakers also reiterated on the integration of digital technologies to create an inclusive and sustainable ecosystem. While adopting to digital health strategies, it was suggested that privacy and security of the data has to be ensured. There is a need to build a safe and resilient digital infrastructure. Speakers also underscored women's role in food security. 5 pillars of women empowerment, namely education, health, security, finance, and emotions, were emphasized. The discussion also outlined the far-reaching consequences of inadequate access to essential resources, emphasizing the urgency of addressing insecurities in food and energy to ensure sustainable and inclusive economic growth. The ethical considerations in artificial intelligence deployment was also stressed upon for responsible development and deployment of artificial intelligence to avoid unintended consequences. The need for inclusive strategies that recognize and address the unique vulnerabilities and strengths of women in the face of environmental challenges was also underlined. This seminar holds immense significance for all stakeholders, particularly for the student participants who represent the future of India. I am sure that the knowledge gained from the seminar will make them key contributors to India's development, foreseeing a future where India leads the world as Viswaguru. Thank you for the opportunity. Jai Hind.
Thank you. Moving forward, Honorable Governor Chancellor will felicitate the speakers of G20 with books. We call Professor K.R. Ashok, former Director, Center for Agricultural and Rural Development Studies, Tamil Nadu Agriculture University, Coimbatore. Dr. K. Thangavel, Registrar, Senior Professor and Head, Department of Computer Science, Periyar University, Salem. Dr. R. Rengalakshmi, Director, Ecotechnology, MS Swaminathan Research Foundation, Chennai. Dr. B.S. Madhukar, former advisor, NAC, Bengaluru, for delivering speech on delivering quality education. Dr. C. Babu, psychiatrist, Sri Kokulam Hospital, Salem. Dr. K. Jayaraman, Professor and Head, Department of Economics, Periyar University, Salem. Professor A. Ilangovan, former Professor and Head of the Department of Commerce, Periyar University, Salem. Dr. R. Ramesh, Assistant Professor, Department of Physics, Periyar University, Salem. Dr. K. Krishna Kumar, Professor and Head, Department of Commerce, Periyar University, Salem. Dr. P. Sanmugavadivu, Professor, Department of Computer Science, the Kantigram Rural Institute, deemed to be University. Dr. P. Nasini, Professor, Department of Nutrition and Dietetics, Periyar University, Salem. Ms. Swati Bharati, student of first year, Master of Library and Information Science, Periyar University, Salem.
We are delighted to invite the children of our university teaching and non-teaching fraternity to receive the appreciation certificate and cash prize from Excellency. First we call in Adin, son of Arivichudar, Assistant Professor, Department of Nutrition and Dietetics, for securing 571 out of 600 in 12th standard CBSE. Next, we Gokula Kannan, son of Mrs. N. Sumati, NMR, Controller of Examinations, Periyar University, for securing 569 out of 600 in 12th standard state board. Next, A. Mitran, son of Arumugam, Section Officer, Register Office, Periyar University, for securing 493 out of 500 in 10th standard central board. Finally, K. Vakshra Premes, daughter of Dr. Kannan, Professor, Department of Zoology, Periyar University, for securing 472 out of 500 in 10th standard state board.
Moving forward, we call Institutions Innovation Council team members for achieving 4-star rating for the IIC calendar year 2021-22, 22-23 to receive the memento and certificate of appreciation. Dr. T. Pungodi Vijayakumar, Professor and Head, Department of Food Science and Nutrition. Dr. I. Lawrence Raj, Assistant Professor, Department of Computer Science. Dr. P. Madheswaran, Assistant Professor, Department of Energy Science and Technology. Dr. V. Manju, Associate Professor, Department of Biochemistry. Dr. G. Yoganandan, Professor, Department of Management Studies. Dr. K. Aragiri Swami, Assistant Professor, Department of Statistics. Dr. M. Surya Kumar, Assistant Professor, Department of Management Studies. Dr. T. Paranivel, Assistant Professor, Department of Physics. Dr. K. Sindhu, Assistant Professor, Department of English. Dr. R. Mageswaran, Assistant Professor, Department of Zoology. We thank Excellency and others for gracing this felicitation.
Thank you. Honorable Governor Chancellor of Tamil Nadu, a scholar par excellence, is known for his doubling up the peace in the country. Born in Patna, stood up as an IPS officer in the Kerala cadre in 1976. He has been into the journalism for a while before he joined in the administrative service. During his tenure in CBI and IB, his role as an interlocutor is remarkable. His service as a chairman of Joint Intelligence Committee in Prime Minister Office and as a deputy advisor in National Security Ministry of Home Affairs, Government of India is prominent. Being served as a governor of Nagaland for 2 years, he has assumed charge as the governor of Tamil Nadu in 2021. As a chancellor, he had many visions for growth and improvement of higher education in Tamil Nadu. He has been a guiding force for the Vice Chancellors in Tamil Nadu and organized annual meetings of Vice Chancellors with educational experts for implementing various development measures in the universities. Now, Honorable Corner Chancellor will deliver the presidential address.
Respected Professor Dr. R. Jagannathan, Vice Chancellor, Professor K. Ashoka, Dr. K. Tangavel, Dr. R. Rajalakshmi, Dr. G. Yoganandan, Dr. K. Jayaraman, distinguished faculties, resource persons, members of Senate and Syndicate, my dear students, friends from the media. I'd like to thank Professor Jagannathan, the Vice Chancellor, for organizing this G20 related one-day seminar. Under his leadership, the university has been making definitive progress, which are very obvious in the various ranking and recognition that the university has been receiving. Even in G20, Periyar University has played significant role. This university has held several events related to G20. And today is one such. In the day-long seminar, many eminent resource persons have shared their ideas, their thoughts, deliberated upon the various segments of New Delhi leadership declarations, and I'm sure it must have been highly enriching for all of you. While all these deliberations on specifics, which are very, very crucial, must have given you insight into the problems, various problems confronting the world, and also the way forward. I would like to share with you the broad context of it. Why are we holding G20 related seminars again and again and again? You all know that G20 in the mid-90s, it was formed essentially by the large economies for collective and coordinated response to economic crisis. And in the first decade of the present millennia, when the economic meltdown happened, this problem got greater salience. And then they realized that these problems are not just limited to economy. So earlier, G20 meetings used to be held with the finance ministers and the chief of central banks of the member countries. But then it was elevated to the level of heads of government. Prime ministers and presidents became these primary stakeholders of the meetings. And it continued. But what unique thing that our country, India, brought to the presidency? When we took over the presidency from Indonesia, we were in a different world. The pandemic had struck the world, had scarred the world. It didn't spare anyone. It took a heavy toll on human lives. Millions and millions perished. Economy had a nosedive. They are struggling to recover. It took a broad spectrum, heavy cost on human life. But it also exposed one thing. It exposed the inadequacy of the world order, the global order, in addressing a problem like a global pandemic, COVID-19. Because when this pandemic struck, the international bodies, including WHO, they knew nothing about it. They were just from time to time making certain speculations and giving some wild advisories. As far as the needy countries, the poor countries, the developing countries, they were resource-strapped. They didn't have access to medicines. They didn't have access to those resources to absorb the shock that this pandemic had created. And so it was realized that the problems of the world are not merely economic problems. There are far many other problems as well, which are very, very important, which are of existential concern. And all these problems must be addressed. And the existing international framework of United Nations and the multilateral entities like World Bank and IMF, they were grossly inadequate to address the problems, not only a pandemic, climate. We all have been talking about climate change, climate consequences of Earth heating up,